Sorry about that, everyone in Zoom world. I'm guessing that you won't have been able to hear the titles, Sven. We're trying to sort that out for you in the second half. So do bear with us. I hope that hasn't spoiled your enjoyment too much, and I hope you can hear me, because otherwise I'm just talking to myself. Again. Oh, excellent. You can.
Mark, if you can't
Hang on, Helen.
I can't hear
anything. Just bear with me a moment.
Oh.
It's not you, Helen. It's me.
We haven't got any speakers at the moment.
No. And unfortunately, the laptop's not playing ball at all.
No, because you've sent it to that. If you put the speakers right here, right? Same as system.
So what's this Canon SX803? Is that that?
That's that. Okay, so same as system. Right.
Oh, thank you, Helen. That's brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Now you need to turn these speakers. Okay. And what we want is some external speakers.
Yeah, which actually we have. For some reason.
People do effectively, rather than do a compensation for the bracketing on the exposure, bracket on the speed.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's all sorts of ways around it, but I think if you've got everything sharp because you've done a slow shutter speed on the tripod, and then you've got things blurring, it distracts the eye because it just doesn't look right to have both.
Well, actually, there was more pronounced on there.
It was
because you obviously because I didn't notice that.
You had the whole boat on there as well. You only had the edge of it on the print, so it makes it more pronounced.
There's one hour ago, the old classic smeary water waterfalls.
Yes. Yeah.
So I saw a video the other day, and he'd done that bracketing with the speed. He'd done a fast speed on the waterfall, and a slow speed on the runoff.
Yeah.
And then combine the two, and you give a lot of drama, like you did with waves, a lot of drama in the waterfall, detail on it, and a nice smeary effect here.
And that works well. Really well. No, it does work well. And it's fairly easy to do, long as you don't move your camera, as long as the camera's on the tripod and don't move it. Yeah, see, yeah, exactly.
So bracketing on the exposure, like the speed.
Yeah, yeah,
really
that's right. Yeah.
Like that. You put it there, you get a nice. If you blend it nicely, you've got the smearing of the sea, which is quite like the effect of this sort of misty effect.
That's right.
But still keeping the
boats and
everything super sharp.
Yeah, because everything's either got to be sharp. It's all got to be sharp, really, because otherwise it doesn't really work. I mean, sometimes that isn't the case. Sometimes when you've got a bird in flight, it's good to see the movement in the wings. So it's good to get a bit of blurring in the wings. Yeah.
Is in the edit?
Yeah, no, that was handled very well the way they've done that.
I bet you really saw that. Bloody hell.
No,
the timing.
Perfect timing, and they were in that perfect formation and all had their wings out.
Yeah.
Perfect. Unless, of course, he's taken a few images of that and combined some of the birds, but I don't think so. I'll just go have a quick look at these before I start.
I know exactly where that house is. Yeah, that's exactly. It's gonna be bang on. Yeah, I've seen those guys before. I don't think it's a pattern. Yeah. Yeah, the work is white and black. Snow with the cross. Yeah, no, this is my first video.
I love your speed of judging.
Do you?
Perfect.
All right, is that good? Sometimes people say it's a bit quick, but
No, sometimes.
yeah, and I think sometimes it gets a little bit monotonous, doesn't it? I don't know. So it's hard to please everybody. So you know, just
You get good feedback. To have everybody's photography.
yeah, it's just well, that's right. I mean, my photography can still be improved by miles, but I found that judges' comments helped me more than anything to improve in my photography. Because I think sometimes you don't see things in your own images, do you, that others see? And it's very difficult here because I've been told to ignore the screen because the screen gives a totally different impression of the prints. Yeah.
Flat screen, because it does seem brighter sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Very much depends on the image.
But you see more of the image on there as well, because somewhere I've seen it cut off very close to the edge. If I glance across there, you've got it's not cut off.
Well, you know what people do, and I made this mistake last time. Is of course, you get the print, but you don't got a white border.
Yeah.
And then they put it in the mount. Of course, then it's trimmed.
Yeah.
So you're seeing it on there as it was submitted, but that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did that last time, and I thought, oh, actually, so I like the pictures. I like it tighter. It acted as a natural crop, and then I found it. They're going, but on there, I can see another inch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been told to ignore that tonight, so I'm trying not to look at it, but it's difficult. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think it's good that people can join in at home as well. I think that's a good thing.
We tried to record it, but it's too.
Oh, it's not being recorded now.
Couldn't get it to.
No.
Couldn't click on the thing.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
Hello in Zoom world, we're just about to start again, so everyone's just taking their seats and we'll push back across to the judge in just a moment. Helen, if you wouldn't mind just typing up the titles as you go, that would be hugely helpful. Thank you.
I'm sorry I bumped into you.
No, that's my fault. I got it.
Okay, let's get started. We've got look at that boy.
Okay, is my mic back on now?
Yes.
Yep, okay, excellent. Can I just say before we go any further, I was just discussing with some people in the break. I've been told to ignore the screen, and I think that's right because I'm here to judge the images. But some of the images are tighter in the frame on the prints than they are on the screen. So I'd just like to point out that I'm only going by what's been presented to me tonight. So what was the title of this one, please? Look at that boy. Okay, so this is, I always think about these images as a bit of judge's bait because this is like a Marmite shot, isn't it? You either like this sort of photography or you don't. This moves into the realm of art, and whether I would never know how to do this. I'm not this sort of photographer who would go into any sort of programs or development modules to be able to do this. So it's been well presented. All I would say, if looking at this as a photograph, unfortunately the dog has just about got his paw cut off at the bottom there, which is a bit of a shame. So I'm looking at it on here, and the aeroplane is very tight into this left-hand side. So I think if I was presenting this again as a framed print, I'd just give it a little bit more space around the side and the bottom. Compositionally wise, I think it's been handled well. I like the fact that the little dog is sitting down here. It looks like this guy is turning around talking to the dog and pointing out the plane to him, and the dog's looking up there, and he's got his lovely warm cup of coffee on what looks to be a wet and miserable day. So compositionally wise, it works well. It's just in some areas a little bit tight in the frame for me. Quite muted colours, and which I think works well for this type of image. So we're starting off with this one, and we'll start off with a 15. Okay, so an old type abandoned area. Don't photographers love abandoned places? And we've got what appears to be some sort of containers or buildings in the background here where nature has taken over with this growth. And we've got some old pallets and rubbish on the floor here. So lots of things of interest within the image. It's probably not the sort of image you'd have hanging on your wall. But it's an image of the sign of the times and places that have been left derelict, lots of rubbish about. And this is, in a way, spoiled. Well, in many ways, most ways, it spoils where we live, doesn't it? But it just shows how nature can take over, reclaim areas. Got a little bit of colour in here with the leaves, which works well. Very bland sky at the top, but not too much of it, so that's okay. Does anything in it hold my attention? Probably not, to be honest. It is what it is, so it's not something which my eye is naturally drawn to. So 14. So red squirrels, very popular subject that you see on the circuits. Some of them are well taken, some of them aren't. What I would say about this one is that you've got this beautiful colour heather type or gorse within the front here, and just this one branch coming out of the gorse. Now, I don't know whether you've sat in a hide and taken this image or you've come across this red squirrel just by walking around. It doesn't really matter. The way that this squirrel is posed on the branch. I like the fact that we've just lost the bottom of the squirrel behind the heather here. That works well. And such a beautiful background. It's a lovely bokeh within the background. It gives us the impression of natural forest colours behind, and pin sharp. The whiskers on this squirrel come right out to here. and you can see that it's absolutely pin sharp. We've got a highlight in the eye here, and you've got the squirrel doing something. It's always nice to see wildlife doing something, and I think this has been well presented within the frame. It's just about the right size within the frame and works very well. Very natural colours. There's been no exaggeration of any colours here, and everything, exposure, everything's worked very well. So we're going to hold that one back, please. So we've got a frosty morning of a plant. Don't ask me what sort of plant it is, but we've got the bits of frost that just on the edges of the petals here. And this part of the image, I like the branch coming in from the right-hand side with these petals on it. What spoils it a little bit for me is the branch running across at the back there. That green branch running here is quite bright in the background, and it does distract the eye a bit. Personally, I would have moved that branch out the way. When you're doing wildflower photography, quite often it's possible just to pin the branches out of the way, or perhaps move this one lower so that we don't get that branch in. Because I think with images like this, where you've got such colourful buds and petals at the front, you don't want any distractions in the background. I do find that green branch across the back there quite distracting, which is a shame, because the rest of the image, this is particularly sharp here, this front one. This one's going out of focus quite a lot at the back there. So a very shallow depth of field has been used on it. I think perhaps a little bit more sharpness in this bud would have helped it as well. 14. It's a nice close-up image, whether it's close-up or macro, but it's lots of detail within this hoverfly. We've got lots of sharpness within the body here. It's going a little bit out of focus right at the front here. Very difficult to get full focus on these, front to back focus on these, unless you're doing lots of photo stacking. So the photographer's done well to get what they have in focus, and we've given it lots of space this side to breathe, so position within the frame works well. What does spoil it a little bit on the print side of it is that we do have these little white dots, quite a lot of white dots along the branch that it's standing on, so I would have been inclined, excuse me, I started coughing now, I'd have been inclined just to clone these white dots in to get rid of those. They're very bright and it does distract it a little bit. The background's very yellow as well. I'd have perhaps just toned the saturation down a little bit in the background. 14. Yeah, the angry little owl. Always look very aggressive birds, these. They've got that angry look in the eye, and they always seem to try and stare you out, which is what the photographer is suggesting in this image here. It's on a natural perch within its environment. Again, we've got a lovely background that is totally clear of obstruction, so the photographer's presented the subject very well. We've got highlights within the eyes, and everything within the bird, which is required, is in focus. One minor point, and it's a very minor point for an image presented like this, is I'd get rid of this white spot here. And I know you're going to say, well, that's very pedantic, but that once you've seen that white spot, it just draws my eye towards this all the time. So I'd have just cloned a little bit of the post in there just to get rid of that white spot. It's not a wildlife competition, so you are allowed to do that. If it's a wildlife competition, of course, you wouldn't be able to clone that out, but you're not supposed to clone it out, in which case I'd have been inclined to perhaps crop it out and just crop along there. There's two ways, either clone it or crop it. We'll hold it back, please. Sorry. Yeah, I love the comedy aspect of this. We've got the old camera here, which surprisingly enough, the old cameras aren't worth anything now, are they? Some lady died recently that I know, and so her husband had a collection of cameras, and she asked me if I would take them. She couldn't use eBay or anything, asked me to take them to try and sell them. I just can't sell them, nobody wants them. So I've got loads of old cameras like this at home that I was trying to get rid of for her. So it's in 60s style, so this camera works very well for this image with the clothing the lady's wearing as well. Love the expression on the face, just looking into this camera. It's been captured well and it's a comedy image. I like it, it's 18. There's beautiful sunset colours here reflected in the water with just a few lights on the boats in the background. Brings the image to life. It gives a little bit of tranquility to the scene as well. All I would say is that it's a little bit, losing a little bit of detail in here. There's detail within these rocks. I would have tended to have brought the shadows out a little bit in the rocks in the foreground. I find that area, compared with the rest of the image, which is very light, I find this very dark and a little bit imposing on the image. So I tended to lighten that up just a little bit. Nevertheless, it's great detail, beautiful sky, loads of detail within the clouds in the sky, and everything is in pin sharp focus where it needs to be. So that's well presented. Just lift the shadows a little bit. That's another 18. What was it? Sorry. Yeah, good. That's a good title, really, because it's it's getting just a little bit late now. But obviously, we're in the rutting season. It's almost coming to an end, I believe now. But we've got this stag here, beautiful horns on it, and because of nature's way, it's quite well camouflaged within its background. So the title works well. Got the autumn colours and the way the deer is just sat there, and it almost looks camouflaged. We've obviously seen you. It's looking straight at you. Not sure where it's been taken, in a park perhaps, but I like the fact that we can see both the eyes on here. Direct look at the camera. It's about the right size in the frame. Shows the deer within its natural environment, which is always important. And exposure has been handled well. This at the front here is quite out of focus, and it goes out of focus at the back, so the depth of field is perfect. We've got all of the deer within focus where it needs to be. It's another 18. Oh, thank you. I believe you. Okay. So second red squirrel shot of the night. Again, the focus has been handled very well. We've got all the detail within the whiskers and the eye, and the focus goes right back to the ears. So this bit of the image is well in focus. All I would say is, for me, it's a little bit tight in the frame. I quite like taking photographs of wildlife, and I've seen quite a lot of wildlife photos presented. And there's two ways that wildlife can go wrong. Either it's too tight in the frame or it's too small in the frame. And for me, this is just a little bit tight. It needs a bit more room this side. It's great that you've got the squirrel with a sunflower seed in its paws, and we've just got a little bit of foreground there to show us this environment. I would have perhaps toned down the whites on this foreground just a little bit. Just tone that down just to burn it in a little bit. It's a little bit too bright. But we have had a really good red squirrel one tonight, so it's up against it. 16. Yeah, well, let's hope we have Christmas, eh? Let's hope it all goes in the right direction. So we've got the Christmas pudding here. Now, it's a great, as you've seen this image and decided to take a photo of it, or perhaps you've thought about it beforehand and decided this is what you're going to take a photo of. So we've got this photo of the Christmas pudding. The title is of Christmas. So we need a little bit of Christmas cheer in there. but I find this, the red, particularly the red coaster at the back, very imposing on this image. Red is a colour that draws your eye in any image, and I find that the red coaster stuck right in the middle at the back is a little bit imposing for my liking. We've also cut off the edge of the plate here, which is a shame. We've got the plate in there. I don't think there was any need to cut that off. So a little bit more space required here. Quite a cluttered background, but I think it would look better if that red coaster wasn't there. So I admire your thought of taking it, but there are a few things on there that don't quite work for me. 15. Okay, so another bird of prey shot. We've got some lovely detail in here. It's got some blood and gore here with its captured mouse. So that's been captured at a very good moment. And the bird has obviously seen you. It's obviously got eye contact with you, so knows you're there. But the way the bird's looking straight at you, lovely bokeh background, nothing to obstruct the background. It's a little bit dark on this side. I think obviously the sunlight is coming in from here, so it makes this side very light and puts this side in shadow. I'd have perhaps lifted the shadows a little bit in this area. I'd have masked this area here, perhaps just lifted the shadows a bit because we are losing a bit of detail in the left-hand side of the bird. Again, I'm not sure whether you've sat in a hide and taken this or you've seen it whilst you've been out and about. It's always very difficult with lighting to get it exactly right, but post-processing, you could have just lightened that up a little bit. Nevertheless, it's quite a pleasant image. 17. Yeah, so we've got quite a lot of detail in the movement here at the bottom. It looks like there's either some spray or dust at the bottom of these wheels here. But the wheels are they're just cut off at the bottom. I think it's a shame. I love this. I love the sort of muted red colour. I like the fact it's not too bright. That works very well. I like the exposure that's been used. And up against this background, that car stands out beautifully. But I do find it very tight. It's cut off here. The wheels are cut off at the bottom. It just needs a little bit more space to breathe, I think, because the way the photographer's taken this, they've taken it on purpose to show us movement. The writing on the wheel is indicating movement. The dust at the bottom of the wheels indicate movement, but there's nowhere for that car to move into. I'd like a little bit more space for it to move into, or at least so we can get the bottom of these tyres and perhaps the front of the car here. Looks a little bit cramped. Just see the driver's face behind the visor there. That's good. And he's got his own GoPro on the top there. So there's lots of detail in there that I like. And I'd say the exposure is lovely. Love the exposure. Just a little bit too tight in the frame for me. 17. Yeah, so somebody that's into underwater photography, which I've never even attempted. They've come across this wreck here. It's like an old propeller. Photographed their colleague going down into the water here. Obvious blue colour cast. It's underwater, so that's fine. Yeah, I mean, if you were this diver, you'd love that photo. It's a photo. It's a record shot, and it's giving a record of what this diver has found on his dive. You can just see just a hint of detail in the background there as well of the rest of the wreck. So that works well. Quite surprised that we didn't get any bubbles from this. There may be some bubbles here, but there's not many bubbles coming out of the diver. Normally with these images, you see lots of bubbles coming out the top. So as a record shot of your dive, yeah, it works well. 16. Yeah, so the photographer here has tried to be very creative, okay, because what they've done here is we've got these paddle boarders coming in here, and they are very they've used a very slow shutter speed to get these paddle borders very blurred. From my point of view, perhaps the shutter speed is just a tad too slow, because this paddle border here, we just got a hint of detail of somebody being there. These two are better, I think, but this one here, whether he was moving quicker than the others, I don't know, but he's a little bit too blurred there. And also the top of the tree is cut off. If you're going to include all of this tree, then you need to include just that top bit, I'm afraid, because to cut off the top of the tree there is just a bit of a shame, I think. It needs a little bit more space there. And just get rid of this, whatever this is on the water, this bright spot there, I'd have just cloned that out. Again, it's a minor point, and you might think, oh, it's too minor to worry about, but little points like this are these little highlights of things that lose points in competitions, I'm afraid. So 15. Yeah, very simple image of this flower. All of the petals within this area, the actual flower head, which is the title of the image, of course, is all nicely in focus, quite muted in colour. It's a very green image. We've got these slightly muted purple flowers sitting at the front, but that is the subject, and you've exposed for the subject well. It'd be very easy, I think, in this instance to overexpose this flower and cause some highlights. We haven't done that. You've done that very well. I would personally have just cropped it in a little bit. I don't think we need all of this space this side. Maybe this is fine because you've got this flower here. We don't want to crop that out because that would look unusual. But I think perhaps a little crop here would have got rid of this highlight bit here and just cropped it a little bit. I think a little bit too much space that side. But for the actual flower area that you've photographed, it's been exposed and focused well. 16. Yeah, so this image has got quite a lot of interest in it. I like the symmetrical way that the photographer's got the three, I suppose, peer supports, I call them here. They work well, and with a central one in the middle, and you've got the flowers growing out the top of each one. All of that works well for me. Beautiful sky, interesting sky. And you've managed to capture lots of detail within the water here. So I think you've used quite sharp, fast shutter speed to capture the detail, and I think that's worked very well. I think the shutter speed is perfect. I'm going to be really, really finicky on this because I just wonder whether this bird at the top there adds any interest or any benefit to the image. When I looked at this, I looked at the symmetry there and then immediately went to that bird there. My eyes immediately went to that white dot because that's really all it is. It's so small in the frame that I don't really think you need the bird. But the title of the image is nothing to do with the bird. I'd have taken that out. But all of the exposure and the focus has been handled very well. And as an image, I like it and I'm going to hold it back. But that little bird there, just a little bit of a niggle with me, that's all. Yeah, so we've got a little. I think it's a dormouse, maybe a harvest mouse, not sure. So hide and seek. Yeah, again, nature's camouflaged this very well within these corn heads or whatever it's eating here. It's a bit of a shame. This has been taken in really harsh light, and the top of this little mouse here is very, very bright. And this bit here, we're losing a bit of detail because it's a bit dark. Now, again, I'm only looking at the image as it's presented in the frame. So it's very difficult to do anything about this now. It was just the light at the time, but it does spoil it a little bit for me. It's that bright. And I would have just taken off these white bits, the white bit below its eye, white bit on its fur. I don't wish to teach people to suck eggs, but I was told once that when you have an image, before you put it into a competition, you should always turn it 180 degrees and look at it again. and obviously turn it the right way up before you put it back in. But I still do that. I still do that to every image, whatever I'm entering it into, whether it be for, well, it doesn't matter what it's for. I always turn it 180 degrees. And sometimes if you do that, you'll see things by turning it over that you didn't see when the image is the right way up. And I would say that probably a third of my images that I do that to, I notice things on the image when I turn it upside down that I didn't notice on it when it was the right way up. And sometimes you can see highlights like this, these bits of highlights here, and these bits on the fur. They make all the difference to your marks. And sometimes you can see them when you turn it 180 degrees. So it's just something you might wish to try with some of your images to see if it helps you spot slight imperfections. 15. Yeah, beautifully presented, Amy. Lovely, beautiful girl. Lovely flowing red hair here with the small head decoration there. The way she's looking at the camera, holding her knees, and the floating of the dress here, and the way the dress just goes out of focus on this bit here against a dark background really brings this image to life. It's really got an eye-catching presentation. The colours are quite muted, but quite natural as well. I think the photographers handled the exposure and the colour on this very well, and the way it's been presented, a little bit more space this side than this. Perfect composition, beautiful image, sharp where it needs to be, detail where it needs to be, and I just love the way that the photographers managed to blur this dress out at the bottom. It gives it that misty, surreal look, but really adds to the image. I'm going to hold that one back as well, please. Yeah, beautiful autumn colours. I looked at this, it might be a pumpkin now, I don't know, but beautiful autumn colours within this image. And the caravan is nicely positioned within the frame, perhaps a little bit tight at the top, perhaps could have gone with another half an inch at the top. It's very close to the top of that roof there. But yeah, as a picture of a caravan works well. I say the colour's beautiful, exposure works well, 18. Are these 4? Okay. Yeah, so this image, without a doubt, really is a 20. Beautiful image. Yeah, just I'll say a little bit too much space this side for me, but nevertheless, it's a 19. Um, 19. Don't need to think about it. It's probably my favourite image of the night. So 20. Thank you. That's okay. It's been a pleasure. Beautiful images by the club tonight. It's been a pleasure. If any of you are worrying too much about me coughing, don't worry, because I took a lateral flow test before I came here. I always take a lateral flow test before I go to any club, so I'm not infectious.
Hello, Zoom world. Hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me
Yes.
now, Helen? Oh, excellent. There we go. There we go. Right. Hello, Zoom world. Hope you enjoyed that. So it wasn't too difficult to watch. Thank you very much, Helen, for doing the doing the titles for us. As usual, I would like to call on Bill Edwards to give a vote of thanks, please. No, just speaking.
Well, I have to thank our judge tonight for coming out on this cold and nasty night and coming all this way to give us his opinion of our work. And it's difficult praising a judge, because when the judge does the thing properly, they do the things you don't notice. They turn up on time, which goes quite a long way, and they don't waffle. They talk about the pictures. They talk about what they think about the pictures. They give us their opinion of the pictures. They make suggestions, which authors are free, of course, to ignore or take up as they wish. But it's only because we can have judges, we can have competitions like this. We had a long spell without print competitions, and we're just getting back to you soon. So a vote of thanks for tonight's judge.
Yes, thank you very much, Robin. I will, if you just bear with me 2 moments, I will get the scores together for everyone and we'll run through the scores. Okay, if everyone wants to listen up for the scores. Thank you. Okay, I can give you some of the scores because it wouldn't be a normal competition night if I gave you everything. So in the black and white competition tonight, we had in third spot we had Neil Adkins on 34 points. In joint second spot we had Carol Green and Sophia Spurgeon on 35 points. And up in front, equal first, we had Matthew Bickham and Diane LeCount with 38 points. So that means that so far, after 2 rounds in the black and white competition, in fourth spot, myself with 68 points. In third spot, Carol Green with 72 points. In joint second place with 73 points, we have Sophia Spurgeon and Matthew Bickham. And drum roll, in first place with 74 points, Diane LeCount. Okay, on the colour side of things, I'm not going to be able to give you the results to date. I will give you tonight's results though, so that you can at least enjoy those. He says, I had them a moment ago. Here we go. Right, so tonight in third equal, we had a cluster of people on third equal with 33 points. We had Paul Weaver, Bill Edwards, Dave Sire, and Diane LeCount. In joint second spot with 36 points, we had Matthew Bickham and Stephanie Stevenson. Well done, Steph. And in first place, no points dropped, 40 points in total, Sophia Spurgeon. I'll pop the year to date in the newsletter this weekend, and you can all catch up on it there. also suffice to say, thank you very much for your patience. Sorry, it was again a little bit clunky again tonight, but thank you very much for your patience. Thanks ever so much for everyone who helped set everything up. Take care on your way home. Hope everyone on Zoom enjoyed themselves and enjoyed the evening. We'll see you all next week for the macro talk. Okay, good night. Good night, Zoom.
Oh, good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Another night.
Work well. Thank you.
Goodbye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good night. I
Robin.
shall be turning off in a moment.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Scottish weather. Yeah. Good night, everyone. See you well.
Good night.
See you later, Tobias. See you later.
Bye.
Cheers, Cliff.
Bye.
That's fine. You going or?
Here we go. Stop that share. End the night. End.
This is